What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Errol Spence Jr., former unified welterweight champion, has decided to activate the rematch to once again take on Terrence Bud Crawford. Crawford's promoter and manager, Brian Bo McIntyre, confirmed this on ProBox. A lot of people were speculating that Errol Spence Jr. would turn down the rematch clause, that the deadline has passed. Didn't hear nothing from Errol Spence Jr., and it led many to believe that he did not want no smoke with Terrence Bud Crawford. But that turned out to be fool's gold, as Errol Spence Jr. said right after he was defeated by Terrence Bud Crawford that he wanted to run it back with Terrence Bud Crawford, that his timing was off. He texted Terrence Crawford the next day and said, "Good shit, and let's run it back before the end of the year." And that's it. Now, that's the only question that remains. Will this fight happen at the end of 2023, or will it happen at the beginning of 2024? Now, the PBC has reserved 4 dates, 2 in the month of November and 2 in the month of December. November 4th and November 11th, December 9th and December 30th. Now, they will not use all 4 of those dates for fights. If they have reserved 2 dates in November and 2 dates in December for a Showtime pay-per-view event to be happening either at the MGM Grand Arena or T-Mobile Arena. Just as a side, Top Rank Boxing has reserved February 10th at Mandalay Bay for a Top Rank Boxing pay-per-view event. So those are the dates that have been lined up for the end of this year and the first quarter of 2024. Now, from what I'm hearing, the November dates are being lined up, are being reserved for a potential matchup featuring David Benavidez, the WBC interim super middleweight champion, taking on an undefeated Olympian, a guy that's been avoided his whole career, a guy that's very skilled out of the southpaw stance, Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. So that fight would either take place November 4th or November 11th. And for what I'm hearing, the December 9th and the December 30th dates are being reserved for Tank Davis to come back. And the names that I'm hearing prominently mentioned to take on Tank are Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Gary Russell Jr., a.k.a. Mr. Gary Russell Jr. So those are 2 strong opponents to take on one of the biggest names in boxing. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But the big news is coming from the big fish, Errol Spence Jr. He called himself the truth, and he's always stuck to that moniker. He is the truth. He said that he was going to take care of his side of the street, and then he would go across the street to take on Terrence Crawford, to take on one of the best in boxing and fight for that last strap for undisputed at 147. And he just did exactly what he said, came up shorter, then a midget on his knees. But again, when he talks it, you got to believe it. He doesn't say nothing and don't deliver. And he said right after he was defeated by Terrence Bud Crawford that he was going to exercise the rematch clause. People thought he was crazy. People out here saying he should retire off of 1 loss. That's crazy. They didn't ask Anthony Joshua to retire after he lost to Andy Ruiz when he got knocked down multiple times and ultimately quit. Did they ask him to retire? Did they ask Canelo Alvarez to retire after he lost to Floyd Mayweather Jr. in a one-sided affair? I got watching that fight. If you're being generous, you give Canelo 2 rounds in that whole fight. I thought he got shut out myself, but if you're being generous, maybe you could have gave him 2 rounds. But the bottom line, he got washed. Nobody was asking him to retire. Errol Spence Jr. has had 1 loss to an all-time great fighter. See how he performs at 154 pounds. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, hold up. Crawford has the right to tell Errol Spence Jr. that the rematch had to take place at 147. He don't have to go up to 154. As we know, Errol Spence Jr. has struggled to make 147. I think that played a big part in his performance against Terrence Crawford, that in the inactivity and getting hit behind the head in round 2. Never was able to recover from that punch. You know, he showed a lot of heart, showed a lot of will, but his legs were never back from that knockdown in the second round. And for him to make it as long as he made it after that knockdown in round 2, even to get stopped in round 7 or round 9, you know, that fight probably should have been stopped 2 rounds earlier. But for him to make it after he was basically had no legs after that knockdown in round 2, and his punch resistance was bad from the shot that he took in round 2, and the inactivity and the problem making weight, all that led to Errol Spence Jr. downfall. Errol Spence Jr. was behind an 8 ball before the fight even begun due to the inactivity and struggling to make 147. And then you put that on top of the fact that he got hit with a shot in the back of the head or behind, or right behind the ear, whatever you want to call it. It knocked his equilibrium off, and he never was able to recover. So he was facing a stacked deck going into the fight, and then with that shot he took in the second round, put him in an impossible position to win a fight versus a very talented, precision, accurate, power punch in both hands, Terrence Bud Crawford. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Errol Spence Jr. has exercised the rematch clause. And in my opinion, I think the fight is more likely to take place in the first quarter of 2024, maybe January or February, as the PBC has dates lined up. But they got dates reserved, 2 in November and 2 in December. And I think the fight that be made in November is Benavidez versus Andrade, either November 4th or November 11th. Those are the dates that are being reserved by the PBC and TGB Promotions. And then you have Tank coming back in December. Tank has let it be known to the powers that be with Showtime and the PBC that he wants to come back before the year's out. So those 2 dates in December, December 9th and December 30th, are being reserved for Tank to take on either Pitbull Cruz or Mr. Gary Russell Jr. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard Briscoe. And let me know your comments about Errol Spence Jr. taking on Terrence Crawford. You think that's a good idea, or you think he should fight another fight? Fight a couple of fights, get his rhythm back, get his confidence back if you think he has lost confidence. I don't think he lost any confidence, but if you're the type of person that felt that he has lost confidence, maybe have a couple of tune-ups and then get back into a big major fight after that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.